just a minute just to kind of interiorize our mind, focus our mind, taking up an attribute, a mantra, a thought, and something which invokes that wholesome, virtuous state of mind, gives us that openness, that shraddha, that faith, that willingness, which shifts our attitude to want to imbibe the truth, imbibe the knowledge. Om Namo Narayana. Namaste. So we are doing the second chapter, and we looked at the key shlokas where the Lord is now has begun the teachings. So the actual teachings of Bhagavad Gita has already begun now. And here, as he begins the teachings, he is going to start from a very high level as we looked at it. Okay, so just a few things, just so I know everybody is keeping in this one. So, firstly, what is the name of this chapter? What is the name given to this chapter?
Sankhya Yoga.
Sankhya Yoga. So maybe those of you are attending Gita, other class, don't answer for a couple of questions. So, what is the conflict? What is Arjuna's conflict? Everybody, anybody? What is the main conflict that Arjuna has had?
It's confusion with dharma and adharma, path of dharma and adharma.
Confusion between dharma and adharma. So, what is the path or the ashrama that he wants to take, and what is the one that he is in? Okay. Meaning, what kind of role was dharma that he has to follow? And what is it that he's wanting to follow? Towards one or two shlokas, he mentions that.
He mentioned he will not fight. He might rather beg rather than killing.
But what dharma is that?
He's a Kshatriya Dharma. Kshatriya Dharma.
He is in Kshatriya Dharma. So what dharma he wants to take?
Sannyasa.
Sannyasa Dharma, ashrama. So these are when he says bhikshu, so that I want to live by begging food, he says, right? So when he says that I am trying to, I don't want to fight. So what dharma is he negating? He's negating his Kshatriya Dharma. And when he says, I want to beg food, meaning you exist based on others' donation. I mean, again, not like they are looking to ask money everywhere, but if people give money, they will live like that. So that is the sannyasa dharma. So based on the thing, or brahmacharya also, but we discussed that he's already finished his education, so it is not brahmacharya. He is looking to he wants to live like a sannyasi. Of course, those times, the sannyasa system was not that much order as it is now, because after Shankaracharya came, it was regulated and organized like this. But he is referring to that sadhu or sannyasa kind of lifestyle. Okay. Now, one more question. So the Lord started teaching in the second and third shlokas. And he also, now he has started teaching. I mean, he has also, he spoke in the second and third shlokas, and he's also speaking now, So what is the difference in the set of response between the one he gave in the second and third shloka versus now? Maybe somebody else. Let's hear someone else who is not talked. What was his answer in the second and third shloka versus what is this attitude now, and why is there a difference? There is a difference.
Is it Swamiji that in the first two shlokas, Krishna was more like a friend of Arjuna, or like, and in the later one, since Arjuna accepts him as a guru, so it's more of a teacher from a teacher's point of view.
Yeah. Good,
First
yeah.
two one, it was more like sort of pushing him, telling him like in a friendly manner, more like in a negative manner that you are, like, I don't know what the correct word for it. So
Yeah, he was actually scolding him, but in a friendly manner. Like, how sometimes when you're close to somebody, and you tell them, I will do this, they'll say, and they will kind of try to push you. Like, why are you afraid? Why are you doing this? So that he's right. He was in a friendly manner. He was telling him in a very friendly manner that you have to fight. This is your dharma. You have to fight, he was telling him, and you are an Aryan, and this is what you have to do. But at that time, he didn't ask for teaching. Arjuna had not said that I am your disciple yet. So the transition that has happened now is that Arjuna has submitted to Krishna as his guru, as his teacher. So now the attitude is different. Now the whole way he's going to talk is different. He wants to then now give the wisdom, the knowledge. Okay, so now the three shlokas we saw, he started giving the knowledge, and as soon as he started giving the knowledge, he's talking about the self, and he says that there is no right of you to grieve for the possible death of especially Bhishma, Drona, and all whom you are very concerned about. There is no justification for you to grieve for these people. Like if you kill them, they die, and then you are saying that this is not, you are worried that they will die, right? So um, that kind of an attitude of yours is not justified. Why is it? Okay, so one more point here. So we discussed about this. So he explains that the grief is not justified based on three things, three kind of perspectives, or the three realities if we take. Even if you take the three different perspectives and realities, it is not justified. Anybody remembers what I explained? What are the three different perspectives he gave based on which he says that um, um, based on which you should not grieve. Even if you take the three things, he gave logic for that. What are the three different ways you can or three realities you can say? Anybody remembers? So these are the points I want you all to remember, because in our class we don't have exams and tests, but these are the kind of ways we want you to remember. Otherwise, what happens? You will be at the very surface level of the teachings. We will carry our own notions, our own perspectives, in the classes. And as long as we are carrying our own kind of perspectives and not tuning in, adapting to these things, we cannot go deeper into into that understanding. And if we don't go deeper, it will not change us. So, anybody remembers this point? Either.
There's one he said was that Jiva doesn't continue.
Yeah.
Will not continue.
No, Jiva will continue, right?
Continue. Sorry. Yeah. And the second one is that there is nothing as such as death, and there is nothing as birth for the consciousness.
Great. Then one more was also there. which everybody is more used to. Huh?
To realize the reality of life?
No. But you
The
got
body,
huh?
the body goes through different phases in life, youth to old age,
Correct. That
and
is. So what happens then in that case? That what will happen to that body in that case?
It
It's
will
anitya.
pass on,
passes into another body,
move on.
another form.
Another form. But that is true. But here, what he's saying, why we should not grieve is that body is made up of matter, and it is not meant to be forever in a certain form. This is a reality, even if you take a materialistic standpoint, right? See, the being sad because that body is dead is not justifiable, because that body was supposed to die at some point or the other. No one in this world is supposed to live forever. So even we say that some yogis are living forever, but it is for one cycle of creation only. So that also is a not a normal situation for a normal person. Someday or the other, death is inevitable, right? The body that is made of what? What is the body made of? Huh? Somebody remembers? Anybody?
Five.
Panchabhutas.
Yes. Pancha Mahabhutas. What are they? What are the Pancha Mahabhutas?
Five elements.
Fire.
Water, fire.
Fire, water, space, earth.
What?
Air.
Agni. Okay, so we should remember this in the order, from gross to subtle. We should remember, which is the most grossest.
Is the earth?
Earth is the most. Next, which is the most grossest?
It is
Water.
water.
After that,
Air.
Yeah.
Fire.
Fire is more grosser than air. Then after fire is air, and then space.
Akash.
Most subtle is Akasha. Okay, so these are the 5 elements. So the body is nothing but these 5 elements. And these 5 elements will go back to its thing. And if you take the yoga Sankhya perspective, it comes from Tanmatras, the 5 Tanmatras. So from the 5 Tanmatras comes the 5 elements. And from the 5 elements, all these different varieties of forms have come. All these different forms are nothing but a different combinations of these 5 elements. So whether you take the human body, the animal body, the plant body, they're all made up of these 5 elements. And they will not always stay in that form. That is that gunas are constantly changing. It will come later, we will understand all this. But the gunas are constantly changing. The one constant thing in Prakriti, the Sankhya takes Prakriti as constant. But what is that constant element in that Prakriti? And that is this change. So it is subject to change. It will never, no form will stay the same. So this is why as a body, we should not grieve for the loss of the body. So this is the teaching that he has given. That there's a first level teaching that he has given here. There are 3 levels of teaching. The second level teaching is what? That jiva as such has its own kind of path, journey in life. Jiva means like the soul or the individual. So we will see if we can discuss this a little bit today. So this aspect of jiva is discussed very extensively by Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya is one of the acharyas of Vaishnava Sampradaya in the Dvaita, the duality. There's a school of duality, Visishta Dvaita. So he's one of that. So he talks about the soul. So if you really look, many religions, they're talking from that perspective of soul, especially Judeo-Christian religions. Many of them are talking from the perspective of soul. And also many Indian traditional things, they talk about the soul, the journey of the soul. How is the journey of the soul determined? That journey of that soul is determined not because I want to live here or I like this or I hate that. It is based on the karma siddhanta. So almost all darshanas, all Indian darshanas take this aspect of karma siddhanta. So what actually is happening at death, that sukshma sharira, which is the constituent of the jiva, that sukshma sharira separates from the sthula sharira. The subtle body separates from the gross body. At that point, that gross body disintegrates back into matter. The five elements return back to that source from where they came. And that subtle body has snapped its karma with those people and that area where that place and the thing it came with. When at the time of birth, the jiva had so much storage of karma. So this is again this is the philosophy, based on which, although in Gita has such that exact karma philosophy is not actually mentioned, but it is implied that we are borrowing this from Vedanta or from all other darshanas, that karma philosophy. So at the time of birth, you were supposed to meet so many people, such and such a people, live with such and such a people, and go through certain experiences, sukha, dukkha, happiness, sorrow. So this was, in a way, your quota which you came with in your life. So you will experience these, and at when you will be born, when you will die, and that storage of happiness and sadness. So this is the karma aspect of philosophy that he is implying. So the jiva comes through, experiences that, and at that appointed hour, it will depart. Where it will go? It will go to another body or another plane of existence. So this is from that karma point. Now comes the last one, which is the most important thing that he is trying to explain. What is it that he's trying to explain? That the consciousness as such, it never had a birth. See, everything about consciousness, if you look at it, right? If you look at something, like if I say that this pen, this pen had a date when it was created. Before this, there was non-existence of the pen. It is called as abhava. And in this also, there's two kinds of non-existence. One is prior non-existence, post non-existence. Prior non-existence means before this pen came, there was this thing called non-existence of the pen. Prior to this, there was non-existence. Now what has happened before? I mean, this was before. Now it is after that pen is destructed. Let's say it breaks or it is crushed or something, and the pen, or it decomposes over time. And so then what happens? There is post non-existence. So this is that there was non-existence before the pen came into being, and then there is non-existence again. So this is the kind of from a materialistic point, that scale of time, But for consciousness, that Atma, there was no time where it was non-existence. Now this is which mantra of the three we studied is he mentioning this point? That there was no non-existence for the Atma.
Well,
look at the mantras, three mantras. Which mantra implies this point?
mantra 12.
Mantra 12.
13. 13.
Mantra 12. Maybe, Rui, can you read the mantra 12 if you have in English?
In fact, there was never a time when I was not, or when you or these kings were not, nor is it a fact that hereafter we shall all cease to be.
Yeah. So this is talking about that fact that there was no non-existence. So what does it imply when we say there is no non-existence? When we say something doesn't exist, there's no non-existence of something. So that means that it never had this kind of an aspect of a birth or death. So this is, how the acharyas have interpreted this. When we say something is non-existent, something never had non-existence, meaning it never came into this realm of birth and death. We talk about birth and death only from this perspective that today I exist, meaning from our worldly language, when I say today I exist, I was born on a certain day and I will die on a certain day. But from the consciousness point, when we say existence, what it means is there was never non-existence of consciousness. So this is a right way to understand. So we say sometimes Sat, we say Sat Chit Ananda. Sat we say is existence. But in really what it implies is, it is not like there was something came into being and then it exists. There was never any non-existence of it. Okay, so this is a subtle point. Okay, now comes the point here, which we're talking about from the Bhagavad Gita perspective. So this 13th mantra, what is the 13th mantra saying is that there is no these stages of life. There is a stage of boyhood or a childhood, then there is adulthood, and then there is old age. So these are the changing phases of life, And what happens from a bodily perspective if we don't accept this? Let us look at it from the body perspective. So in a body perspective, we don't accept, then what happens? That, like, these days, as many those celebrities, movie stars, and all, right? As they get older, then they start getting what do they call plastic surgeries and all done, right? Because they want to continue looking young. So from a real perspective, you cannot stop that aging process of that body. You can try to look young. You maybe, like sometimes I sometimes these days after coming to Rishikesh, I don't do my own mundan, we say, cutting the hair. I go to the barber. So when I go to the barber, sometimes they think, they say, oh, you look quite young, so you should put these things on your face that will make you young. I said, I don't need to look young because it's a process of the body, right? Of course, for a sannyasi, I can say that, but for many of you, maybe you can't. But as such that when we cling on to youth, what happens too much mentally? We feel that we should not get old. Then there is shoka. Shoka means suffering, sorrow. So this is that physically we have to accept that body goes through this process of change. And if you don't accept that, this transition phase of that body, and you're looking for permanence, there is an inherent need to look for changelessness. But where should you look for changelessness? Should you look for changelessness in the body? This is where, this is the ignorance. When we are ignorant, what happens? We'll try to look for changelessness in that which is subject to change. In Prakriti, we cannot look for change. We cannot look for changelessness. Prakriti is going through that constant change, everything. In that Atma, in that consciousness is that changelessness. So this is where, where the Shankaracharya mentions, right? Where is this Shoka Moha of Arjuna coming from, he says? Where is this sorrow of Arjuna coming from? Sorrow of Arjuna is coming from that fact that he is looking for that changelessness in something which is subject to change. He is looking for deathlessness in something which is subject to die. And furthermore, it is that he says that Shoka Moha, his delusion. What is the delusion that he has? He has that delusion that I have, mostly this is what I have to do at the relative level. Relative level means Swadharma is to fight. Relative level, all of us have our duties, right? But at the higher level, he's looking at that separate level and he's wanting paradharma, he's wanting others' duties, which is not his duties. So that is also a cause of his ignorance. Okay. All right. So now this point, one more point here when we talk about the jiva. What is it that why does the Lord say you don't have to worry about? Especially, he says you don't have to worry about Bhishma, Drona, who Bhishma especially is supposed to have followed the path of Dharma. He says you don't worry about Bhishma dying because he is a person who has followed the Dharma. So his jiva will go to a good place, will go to a higher place. So those who have done good things, who have followed the Dharma, who have followed the Shastras, generally, this is also something that I was trying to mention. We lost actually one of our students who was attending the Gita class. So I was telling my Gita class students this, that, when somebody dies, especially those who are first, we should not hold on to grief as much as possible. Why? Because if they have been good, if they have followed Dharma, if they've had spiritual interest, then they're actually, that jiva of that person is going to go to a better place. It is freed from the sorrows of this life and it is going to go to a better place. So what is really the grief then? The grief then is about our clinging to them. So that grief is not so much that they are going to suffer, they are going to have these problems, when a jiva which has lived a good life, meaning it has done dharma as much as it can and had a spiritual inclination, that jiva will progress. So that grief is not for that jiva, the grief is for us that we are clinging to. Our loss, we are actually going through our loss. Somebody raised hand.
Me, Swamiji, me.
Yeah, Rui, yes, yeah.
Swamiji, what about when your Swadharma is adharmic?
How do you know that your Swadharma is adharmic?
For example, fighting in an army that is fighting for the wrong reasons, for example.
Yeah. So
A soldier that fights, that has to follow his dharma, is a fighter, he needs to fight. But
yes.
maybe the reasons why he's fighting don't really align with the dharma.
So yeah, what is your question what is your comment in this?
How do we solve this?
So the Swadharma, when we say Swadharma, it is not easy to understand always what is the Swadharma. So from a normal person perspective, the Swadharma is taken based on where he belongs to, what he is belonging to. So there, what happens, for example, if you all remember the story, if some of you might know the story of Ramayana. So Ravana's elder brother, Ravana's brother, he actually feels that he should not fight with Ravana. He should not fight on the side of Ravana, though he belongs to that side. He switches side. He switches side to the Rama's camp. So then, did he break his Swadharma? So when we look at it from that perspective, So these are points, where from a generic point, each person at their specific stage in life, they will be told by the Shastras and by their true understanding what is Swadharma. So there is no like general answer like that. Like, for example, nowadays, many times people use the Gita and say that, in Gita, Krishna told Arjuna to fight. So this thing that has happened to me is not correct and I should fight. So there, many times they may be justifying something where they should not be fighting. So it is not like every situation you have to fight. Many situations, not fighting is also the Swadharma there. So from a spiritual sadhaka, so ultimately what is the dharma is what the Lord will say in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So the ultimate dharma is that you take surrender in the Lord. You surrender to the divine, you surrender to that higher will, and follow that. So here actually Arjuna is asked to do that. Arjuna is not actually one level we are saying that Arjuna's dharma is to fight, but the real reason is because that is the guidance his guru or the Lord is giving him. So that becomes the highest dharma. So when we understand what is the right thing, as you were mentioning, if in a situation fighting is not right, and if our conscience or if our inner voice is telling this is not the correct thing, then that becomes a swadharma at that point. So this is what we discussed, in the before thing. There are levels of dharma. There is one is a kula dharma, then there is ashrama dharma, and all this. These are levels. So these are when our understanding has not developed. We use these things, but as our understanding develops, we fine tune it more and more to be in line with the highest truth. Earlier we align it to be in align with the relative truths. So when we say ashrama dharma, it is still a relative truth. Why it is relative truth? Because that is also a society created thing, right? That kind of, this is your dharma, that is your dharma. But that is of course Vedic also it is there. So it is helpful for a spiritual practitioner. Those dharmas and all are helpful. Okay, all right. So now let us just look at the mantras one more. So today we will just look at this because I don't think we'll have time to. So these mantras, let us just look at them. Can somebody maybe just or maybe let us chant one more time and then we can read it. Somebody can read in English. All right, somebody repeat after, everyone repeat after me. It's the same mantras which we have done. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyanan Vachochastvam
Ashocyananvashocastvam
Prajnavadancha Bhashase
Prajnavadanshya bhashate
Gatasuna Gatasuncha
Gatasuna
Nanushocanti Panditaha
Nanusochanti
Natve Vahang Gyatu Nasan Natvaneme Janadipaha Nachaiva na bhavishyamas Sarve Vayamatah Param Dehi nosmin yatha dehe Kaumaran yauvanai jara Tatha dehantarah praptir
Praptir
Dhirastatra namuyati Can somebody just read that in English?
I will read
Yeah.
it
Shri
from
Bhagavan said,
11th one. Swamiji.
Who you can.
Shri Bhagavan said, you are grieving for those who should not be grieved for. Yet you speak like the wise who have the scriptural authority. The wise do not grieve for the living or for the dead. Never was there a time when I, you, or these kings did not exist, nor will there ever be a time in the future when we cease to exist. Just as the embodied soul continuously passes through childhood, youth, and old age in this body, similarly the soul attains another body after death. A wise person is not bewildered by these changes.
Okay. So now, I will just read out a few commentaries. There are different acharyas have written commentaries on this, and this part of this section of Bhagavad Gita is very important because here is where many of them have started their commentaries. So not every class we will go through this, but I will just briefly read out different commentaries from different acharyas very briefly. So the one of the points here is that this last shloka, Ramanujacharya says, one does not grieve thinking that the self is lost. When an embodied self living in the body gives up the state of childhood and attains youth and other state. Similarly, when one dies and moves to another body, there is no grieving necessary. That is this logic. Like for example, like when we become old or when we become young, especially from childhood to young, do we grieve that now I'm youth? Maybe we may feel like, oh, I miss some of those things of childhood, but we don't grieve like that, right? So similarly, it says when one moves from one body to another, there is no need for grieving. And Madhvacharya says that the physical body is obviously not what has the experience of childhood, youth, has is evidenced when the body is dead. The body is just a container, and when the soul has departed, the body has no further identification from that soul with that soul. So all the Vedanta acharyas have this perspective that that body and that jiva or atma are different. So the when when the physical body, which is going through all the stages, growing up, getting old, and all that. When that person has grown old, he's still that same person, right? We may say like that he looks the same because he carries the DNA and other things, but the DNA doesn't determine that consciousness, right? The DNA is just maintaining that cells and that certain intelligence in that cells. But that conscious awareness is not a creation of the DNA. This is why science has not been able to understand consciousness yet. So that which stays conscious through these processes of birth and death, that is that thing. And so he continues to say that that who is experiencing life, like whether the life of a tiger, a worm, or whatever physical form. So as Madhvacharya says, that which is experiencing it, who is experiencing it? See, like even like you say, I feel pain. I have a headache, I feel pain. So there has to be some entity who is the experiencer of that. So what we call as a karta bhokta. That karta is the one who is a doer. Like I feel that I do this, and I feel I'm enjoying this. This is a constant thing that gives us a sense of me and experiencer, like from a worldly perspective. What is it that we ask somebody, when they go to another country or another town, we ask them, how did you enjoy that? How did you like that? So there was somebody who enjoyed that. We don't just say, oh, did your body go and come back there? We actually kind of want to ask them how was their experience, right? So that is that sense of experiencer there. So he's pointing to that. And then there is a one more comment that he, of course, from Shankaracharya, and this is where in the 12th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya has established there that philosophy of that Advaita. So his whole teachings, his whole commentary started from there, and that set off the whole revolution of all this Acharyas writing commentary. So Ramanujacharya was one of the first one who refuted that, and he comes up with he refutes this point here where he talks that this is not, Lord is in the 12th mantra if you saw. He says there was not a time where I was non-existing, you were not existing, they were non-existing. Meaning he's separating them out, he's saying. So this is where he explains a long commentary in order to refute the Shankaracharya commentary. And you all don't need to really know too much, but those of you who are interested, it's good to understand this. So here, both of these philosophies are very developed on profound things, the Advaita, whether we take the Dvaita or the Advaita. So here is where, from both that perspectives, they are arguing that jiva doesn't die, or that person, there is something that continues. And it is not just the continuous, like when we talk from a religion, what happens? There's just a hereafter. That soul goes somewhere and stays. But what is this perspective here of Ramanujacharya is that this diversity, that jiva is different from God. Like in that sense that I am here, that God is always there, and the God is that pure entity. And I am this who will always be going through this experience. So this is also what many religions have taken, right? That I will go to heaven, I will go to here, I will go to hell, other places. So that is the journey of the jiva. So there is no oneness then. From that perspective, there is no oneness. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke. So I am that Amsha Jiva. So that Amsha, Amshi, that two perspective, the Lord is that universal thing, and we are all a part of that. And the other perspective here, which Advaita actually establishes, is that consciousness is that one consciousness. Then why is it looking different? Why is that consciousness looking as him, her, or as God? Because these are different upadhis. So he gives that example of upadhis, meaning there are different things that, like I look different because I have different set of DNA. So you have different set of DNA. So that makes each of us different, right? So similarly, like all this diversity, Vedanta says there is no real diversity. There is only that one consciousness. So just as how I remain same whether I am the young boy or an adult or an old person, that sense of I doesn't change for me. So this sense of I, that is the same I that is there in everyone. So this is a Vedantic kind of version of that. The sense of I that I experience is non-different from the sense of you, that I in you, that is experiencing. Okay, so this is just a deeper aspect of that philosophy. So he kind of mocks at Shankaracharya's philosophy in a way where he says that, if there was a difference at all, if there was no difference at all, why would anybody teach other person? If we say that if somebody is teaching to another person, then that means that there is already that teacher himself is ignorant. If we are saying that is because of ignorance the teaching is going on, then the teacher himself is ignorant, right? So that is the basis on which he has established it. Of course, there are many ways to refute that. There are a lot of acharyas who have refuted that. So we don't need to necessarily get caught up with all these debates. What is helpful for us to know is that sense of separation, which there is put in terms of me and me as individual and God, that is helpful for a sadhaka to a certain extent. Because when there is that division, then we can invoke that blessings. Then we can have a receptive mind. that sense of receptivity, that sense of openness, that sense of faith in something higher will come. Otherwise, what happens? We are not completely ready to abide in that pure consciousness at the relative level. At the relative level, our experience is that we are limited, So there, what happens? That sense of non-duality will not, if it is not completely established in us, it will not help us. So Vedanta, even in Advaita Vedanta, it is useful to use this duality, sense of duality. So both duality and non-duality are helpful, and Vedanta, of course, Advaita Vedanta, which Shankaracharya's main bhashya, main teachings of Gita came from, was established as Vedanta, is based on the Advaita philosophy. Okay, so we will leave it at this. Anybody has any comments, questions? Can take it out. Yeah, anybody, any of you who have comments? If you don't want to ask also, you can type it. Okay, so there is that we discussed this one point also. Where does the so this one point we should now maybe we can just summarize. So we discussed about this main point of three perspectives. So now, just to be clear, where is that aspect of grief coming from? The sense of grief which Arjuna is experiencing at the possible death of especially his grandfather and other people. From what aspect is that grief coming from? Anybody?
Is it ahankara?
How is it ahankara? How is it coming from the ahankara?
Bodily attachment.
Attachment to the body.
Attachment to the body. It is not, it is, we can say ahankara, but there is another kind of a, you can say klesha, another aspect, which is,
Asmita.
Asmita. Okay. See, Asmita also has ahankara only.
The raga dvesha, this is me, this is mine.
This is me.
These are my relatives. So
Correct. So it was mentioned in that aham mamaiti. Amaiti mama. See, this is me and this is mine. So what is that? It is actually ahankara, correct, ego. But in a more deeper sense, these grief and other things come from a clinging. That raga.
Mamakara. Mamakara. Ahankara, mamakara.
Mamakara also is what? In a way, it is a form of ragadvesha. Mamakara also is a form of ragadvesha. What he was saying is attachment. That mind, that sense of mind, where is it coming? It is coming also from ragadvesha. So ragadvesha is one of the things. See, that ahankara has such, is very difficult for us to deal with. Meaning, like, to understand the working of the ahankara is not easy. Like many times people say, oh, he has an ego problem, she has an ego problem. But why is that ego problem persisting? Because of that inability to become aware, right? So, but what we can become aware is ragadvesha. Our likes and dislikes is something that is much more available for us to see. rather than the subtle workings of the ego. So the starting point here for Arjuna, that it will come in later shlokas also, in the next coming shlokas also it will come. Matra sparshas kaunteya sukha dukkha. So that all this that is coming is established in this clinging, that ignorance. Okay. So then as somebody said, the body, that attachment to that body. So as long as we are taking that body as reality, then what happens? That we are not ready for that knowledge. So what is that? What is the first shift that the teachings here is making is to shift us from the body identification to jiva identification, and this is what all religions are trying to do. See, what is the greatest thing that every religion gives is that it gives us a hope of afterlife, right? Something more is there. So what is that? There is that shift from the body identification to jiva identification. But that alone is not going to completely give us that knowledge, that knowledge, that unshakable knowledge. What is the next shift that we are trying to achieve here? From that shift from body to jiva, that every religion you go will give you that. But Gita, Vedanta is making one more shift, higher shift from that.
To know oneself.
To know oneself, meaning what? How is that different from knowing the jiva?
Atma, Paramatma.
How is that different from knowing the jiva? How is that knowing you as the body and not you're knowing yourself as the jiva and not the body different from knowing you as the atma and not the jiva?
From division and separateness to oneness.
But from what I taught today, these are all good thoughts. But from what I taught today, what is that point? Shift. Or what I
Not
taught.
to be meted to change and time.
Would say again, Flavia?
And not submitted to change and time, decay.
Correct. Yeah. So this thing what I mentioned, this connection between the body and that what we call as this thing of being embodied, So Vedanta actually tells us we appear to be embodied, but in reality there was no such kind of physical birth and death to that Atma. So this is a shift in understanding, and if we can take this, we go beyond karma and all that also. See, if we are still thinking of, okay, I was born, I will do and all that, so that is okay from a relative level, but we should at least have that notion in reality that consciousness as me, I as a consciousness never was subject to this birth and death. This kind of transition which happens in time is Atma as such is beyond that thing of time. So what I explained as that non-existence, it was beyond this aspect of time. So this shift, then what happens from that level of body and that level of both from that level of Atma and from that level of body, there was never necessarily a birth or the journey. The journey and all that is only really for that jiva, that experiencer. It is only that soul, as we say, which is going through this time. Neither that body experiences a sense of time, nor does that Atma experiences that sense of time. It is a jiva which is experiencing this sense of time.
Swami, I have a stupid question.
Huh.
I don't understand the difference between body and jiva. Jiva is someone that is on the path. I cannot understand
Yeah,
it.
so we can take it like this. There is a gross body and a subtle body. Huh? So gross body is made of these 5 elements, which we discussed. The subtle body is what we can for now take as the jiva. Huh? Subtle body is the one which goes through. It goes beyond that. Yeah. So fundamentally, that is the difference. And the Atma is beyond the gross and subtle body. Idea. Okay, huh? All right. So we'll leave it at this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Just I think we wanted to just